Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Can y'all hear me? I just need a quick thumbs up in the chat before we get started. Just want to make sure that the sound is good. I just dealt with something a little odd on my end, so we're just double checking. Hi, Darkwing. Can y'all hear me? Are we Gucci? Take another sip of water while we just double check here. Because it's showing that you should theoretically be on my end. Hello. Okie dokie, y'all do hear me. Beautiful, fantastic, wonderful, 10 out of fucking 10. We always just double check because I would hate to play a game where I'm doing a lot of reading and have y'all not be able to fucking hear me. That shit would suck. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, we are hanging out with this dude here. His name is Cove Bolden, and he's a sweet little baby angel. We got through 3 moments of step 1 last time. So we will be starting with Sandcastle here. I don't know how far we're gonna get, but I will be on for about 3 hours, so we'll see what chunk we can take out of this. Okie dokie. Let's see what the Sandcastle moment looks like. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. He thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there, on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. Darkwing, thank you so much for the subscription, I appreciate you. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. The little baby sigh. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yeah! I love Shiloh's little yeah. The little baby voice acting is so sweet. Stop it. I wish you didn't have a cast. I'm fine here on land. I feel like 8-year-old Blake would be like, I wish you didn't have a cast. I think wanting to go in the water would be valid as fuck. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. I love Shiloh. I know he doesn't have an opinion on anything, but he's so sweet. While you on TikTok, was watching your live stream and decided to follow you here too. Thank you, Darkwing. I appreciate that. The voice acting is precious. Stop. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
The little okay, stop it. He put his hands back to his seashells in sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine is gonna be a real castle. Cool, this is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make... let's see... Shiloh does seem nice despite his attitude slightly introverted. Yeah, I agree. I think he's just a little quiet, shy guy. He's like, I don't want to bother anyone. He's very agreeable. Let's see. Let's go mansion, because here's the thing. Shiloh's making a house. Cove's making a castle. I want to be different, so I'm going to go with a mansion. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to do what Lizzie would do and design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you'd built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a red bottle cap, blue sea glass, blue seashell, green piece of sea glass. Completely valid, I get that. I think I was somewhere in the middle. I think I got introverted when I grew up. I think as a kid, I was making friends with everyone. My family would go out to eat at Wendy's, and I'd be making friends with another kid in the fucking bathroom. I don't know what was up with baby Blake, for real. I want the blue seashell, mostly because it's blue. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. The blue color of it still reminded you of the clear water. So you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second to look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. No, you decided not to look. Let's not be peeking. Everyone will show it when they're ready. It'll be fine. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good. That's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. You really know a lot about this. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Blake, can I see what you did? Sure. He scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at compared to Cove and Shiloh's buildings, probably even bigger. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey Blake, what did you do? This is my mansion. Cove scowled for a moment. Apparently the anger was actually still there after his argument with Lizzie more than a week ago. It looks great. Your house is so big. Thanks. You're welcome. I don't think that's the same as a house. Huh? Is being a house bad?
No.
The little no. But we each made our own place. Nobody is the same. I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. Oh boy. Not a disagreement between the children. Everybody relax, it'll be fine. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he'd noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Blake? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. As a toddler, I was more outgoing with brothers, but I never grew my social circle and grew introverted from my comfort. I think it's partly why it took me so long to realize I was non-binary and pan. Valid as hell. Valid as hell, but the important thing is you figured it out, so W-U. Honestly, love Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden, Cove's dad, is such a sweetheart. He's doing his fucking best out here. They're so cute. The art style of this game is like my favorite thing ever. I'm obsessed. Okie dokie. Back to it. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Blake's parents and my dad met the same day I met them. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. See, here's the thing. I don't think that Cove is doing it on purpose, but I also don't think that Shiloh should be left out like this. Yeah, I think Shiloh wants to talk too. Huh? We were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Cove continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay. Why did you want to tell the story if nothing happened? I'm gonna go with thanks for telling me. Because for some reason he wanted to tell me. Who knows what's going on in Cove's little brain, but it'll be fine. You're welcome. Aw, look at that little smile. Even if not much happened, you weren't going to complain about knowing the story. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why do you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first, before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Oh boy. Oh, Cove, what have you done? Dude, You don't point out when someone's blushing, it just makes it every worse. Oh boy. Shiloh, I'm sorry, it's gonna be okay. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Blake's family some more, 'cause you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you. God damn, Shiloh, shots fired! I'm with Cove. He pointed out blushing and Shiloh went for the fucking throat about it. Oh no! Christ, okay. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. When in doubt, just change the fucking subject. The day is gonna be over soon. Ah, Blake, you're right. The sun is going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you'd try to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near-perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. Cove, what you thinking, buddy? Yeah, you asked him what he was thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey, Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face. Oh, I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all read a lot? You shouldn't make fun of him. I don't think Cove was making fun of him. I think Cove makes observations and doesn't realize that it can come off as making fun of someone or being rude. I don't think Shiloh was just being a baby. Like, I think him being upset about it was valid. I'm not gonna say I don't know it's just Shiloh, because that feels like such a cop-out. He gets embarrassed. Yeah, that feels like a good one, because that is why he blushes. He gets embarrassed having the attention be on him. Embarrassed, but I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway? I guess I can get it, why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey, Blake. Was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. So I don't think now's a good time to tell him the truth about his dad offering us $20 to be friends with him. I think baby Cove would completely freak out and have like a meltdown about that. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay, is all.
Thanks.
Thanks for telling me. Oh, the little baby thanks. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Let's see. When I was 8, I don't think I was big on hugging. Hug? Okay, we'll hug Cove. You know what? I wish I'd given more hugs to my friends growing up. So hell yeah, let's hug Cove goodbye. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his sides. He wasn't much of a hugger, but you didn't get the impression he was unhappy that you were. Aw, not him not knowing how to hug back, but he's like, okay, fine, you can hug me, I guess. That's actually really fucking sweet. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Bye, Blake. He pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if he felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime, but there's always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. They're so cute. I love them. I love this little dynamic. With a final look, you went inside your house. Can I just say, I adore this game. I feel like I'm going to say that so many times while I play through it for y'all. So someone can take a tally of how many times I say it. But it's just so cute and inclusive and customizable that you genuinely just get, like, lost in the fucking story. Like, I know I'm not, but I feel like I'm growing up with Cove, and I love that. Okay, we're gonna go Fireflies next, and then we'll be on the second row.
Alright!
Hi, Lizzie. Alright, tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. I want mac and cheese. Ooh, that sounds really fucking good now. I would tell his dad you play with him for free and then give back the money. Yeah, we didn't take the money, but the offer was still made and Cove doesn't know the offer was made, which is a little uncomfortable. Can we also agree that, like, that's not something that Mr. Holden should have done, because to do it and then ask a child to keep a secret for you is just so many red flags. Like, I don't even think my character's moms know that this was a deal that was attempted to be made. Just awkward. Overall awkward. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah, apparently that's what we're doing. I'll hop on board. You rocked lightly from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after-dinner activity. Catching fireflies was a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through the darkened sky. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Thrasher? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know that she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. I love mac and cheese. Do you like shapes? I prefer elbow mac. So I actually prefer, there is this specific Walmart brand that are like these little thin twisty noodles, and those are like my favorite typically. I also really like the shells with Velveeta mac and cheese, because I'll eat like mac and cheese cups as like a quick little thing to get. So it just depends. But yeah, I like all different shapes of noodles. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response.
There.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Yeah, I don't get the hype of the cartoon character shapes. Sometimes they're okay. Usually they end up like cooking weird. Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom, that's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. I feel like that's not the thing to focus on, but I get where they're coming from. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth.
Jeez.
No one is gonna die, sheesh. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Well, that's not safe. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove. Hi, you're here. Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there, it meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then, for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way, you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun! This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed closely after Lizzie, who was nearly Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie, who was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Blake. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove was still walking at a relaxed pace. You know what? Walk with him. You're the one that wanted him to stay. I don't think it's fair to rush him. I think Cove likes to just take his time with some stuff. Yeah, walk with him. You fell behind, sidling up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle.
Wow.
I agree, it's so cute. Fireflies are chill. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. The little laugh. Stop. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. The little smile, like Cove's just a lot more laid back especially for an 8-year-old. Dude just kind of wants to do his own thing at his own pace, and I respect that so much. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green hair. Hi, Joe. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I would laugh at the firefly on his head. Yeah, you and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured to his head and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow.
Oh.
Oh look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You might not know them, Joe. Darkwing is new. We're vibing, though. Yeah, right now everybody's trying to catch fireflies. Yeah. So, as a kid, I think I was fairly good. Yeah. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Oof, Cove is struggling. Joe, you're not new. You're an OG. What do you mean? You've been here forever. Y'all can call me Jay? Okay, solid. Well, happy to have you here, Jay. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again. Cove, you've got this, little dude. You're gonna catch a firefly, I swear. Yeah, you encouraged him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for a moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. Stayed very still. Nah, Joe, you're an OG. Shh, it's fine. Yeah, stay very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Oh, look at them being all cute and shit. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Blake. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Not the oops, sorry. Forgive him. Don't scold him. He didn't do it on purpose. Dude was just goofing. Yeah, you forgave him. It's okay. Look how many more there are. It'll be fine. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Right. Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decided to collect more, especially now that Cove and I are like this little duo, this little team about it. Let's fucking go. Uh-huh, we can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran out into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Blake, this way! You followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. There was an overall huge success with both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Blake, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi.
Go!
Hi. Cove, you can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
Cove just wants to be included, and honestly, being the referee sounds kinda lame while everybody else is racing. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. I'll stay with Cove. I'll hang out with my dude. I'm not gonna abandon him and make him stand there and watch the rest of us race.
Really?
Really? Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You moved beside him on top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join or not. Okay, Lizzie, I'm gonna need you to dial back the brat attitude like a smidge, please. Please, because you're adorable and I love you and I love this little sunflower dress. But your attitude ain't it sometimes, girl. You really have the, like, oldest kid group mentality down of I'm the oldest and I want everyone to listen to everything I say all the fucking time. And shit's annoying, because I remember dealing with that. I know, I love Cove too, for real. Such a sweet little bean. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Count down. Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad, you got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No. You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eyes and saw he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. This game is so cute. Yeah, Lizzie really is trying to exclude Cove, and I don't understand why. Like, he hasn't done anything, especially when you keep in mind that Lizzie and Shiloh are such a little pair that, like, my character finally has someone, so they're not, like, third-wheeling a friendship. So, like, you can't get mad that the group grew a little bit, because my character needs a friend too, like, Jesus. Okay, next up, the library. Aw, I missed the library. For real? Why is Lizzie gotta be like that? She's only, like, 10. I'm telling you, it's gotta be because she's the oldest of the group, so she just is like, oh, I'm the boss. No, you're not, though. Okay, quick water break and then we'll hop into library. Okie dokie, in we go. Every year, the Sunset Bird Memorial Library held a summer reading program. Your moms and Lizzie were big fans of it. Mom and Mommy because it encouraged reading, and Lizzie because she could win prizes. Shocking, Lizzie likes to win. Who would have fucking guessed? When it came to what you thought of having to read a bunch of books and then going to the library with a competitive Lizzie... See, I feel like I would enjoy the reading. I don't think I'd like Lizzie being all competitive about it, though. Like, I'd want it to be fun, and I think Lizzie's stinky attitude would ruin a lot of it. But I don't want to go full-blown like I hate it, because that sounds so miserable. You didn't care. It was just something you did every year. You didn't question it much. Lizzie didn't like when you teased her during the team quiz, but she seemed to like that you were there helping her either way. You and Lizzie went with Shiloh before, and this year you brought Cove too. His dad had been so over the moon about Cove being included that he'd driven all 4 of you. You had never been in Cove's dad's car before. It seemed a lot shinier than your mom's. After herding the group inside, Mr. Holden gave you all a wide wave with the arm that had a stingray on it. Have fun, kids! Stay in sight of the librarians, you hear? I wish I could watch you in action, but your poor old dad has to finish up some work.
I got it.
Though I'm sure that won't get in the way. Heck, I'd probably hold you kids back. There's pointedly no reply from his son over what was likely meant as only a joke. Cove's dad seemed to deflate a bit. I'll swing around again when the shindig ends. Holy crap, why are words hard? Yeah, you can go home now. Damn, Cove. Cove don't give a fuck. He just says everything that's on his little baby brain. His dad's doing his best, okay?
Aw,
You don't have to throw me out the door, Your sister, already in full competition mode, cut him off. For once, Cove looked grateful she was there.
Come on!
We have to go find a table, Mr. Holden. You can talk to Cove after when we win. Okay. See you in about an hour. Have fun. Did I say that already? My advanced age is really catching up to me now.
Bye.
Bye, Dad. Bye, son. The 4 of you watched him shuffle out of the library, glancing over his shoulder at Cove more than once.
Bye!
Bye, Mr. Holden. Thank you for bringing us. Shiloh's just the sweetest, most polite, well-mannered little thing, and I can't. I adore him for that. His lack of opinions still piss me off, though. Thanks, Lizzie. I don't know what you're thanking me for. Are you copying Shiloh? Distracted, Cove was already glancing around the gigantic library. I want to go explore. What? I said I want to go look around and see what's in here. But the quiz starts soon. That's why we came. Wide at the first signs of conflict, Shiloh's eyes darted between Lizzie and Cove. Then you can do it without me, right? You don't need a bunch of people. Didn't your dad say to stay with the librarians? You shouldn't go somewhere by yourself. Cove leveled an unimpressed stare at both of them. Then his eyes met yours. Not the silent stare down, oh no.
Hey!
Why are you looking at them? Blake is with us. Blake can come if they want to. I don't want to let Cove explore the library by himself. I think that's a bad idea. And technically, Shiloh made a good point. You shouldn't go somewhere else alone. So, if I go with Cove, then he's not alone. You know what I mean? Are y'all following the little loophole logic that I'm seeing? Because let's be so honest, even if I side with Lizzie, I think Cove is going to do whatever the fuck he wants. So as his friend, I would rather be with him, buddy system and all that, instead of having him be, alone. Plus, I don't think he's been at this library before, so, yeah, at least I know the place. It'll be fine. Yeah. It's not that his idea is more fun. Yeah, go over to Cove. You walked over to Cove, averting your eyes from Lizzie.
Seriously?
Lizzie is so shook. She's so over it. I can't. Oh no. Cove looked surprised but happy at the same time. You'd never really thought about exploring the library before. It sounded like more fun than the same old thing. Ugh, fine. Let's go, Shiloh. Okay. Her arms folded, your sister stormed off. Shiloh had to race to keep up with her. She cares a lot about that. That's just how Lizzie is, haha. I don't like it. Since you've been here a lot before, we could play hide and seek. Hide and seek? Not exploring? Yep. If I'm searching for you and you're searching for me, we'll really have to look at everything. You weren't entirely sure of how effective that would be, but couldn't say he was totally wrong. I'll hide first. Decision made, Cove took off towards the back of the library. Okay. Guess we playing hide and seek, buddies. You'd already agreed to play with him instead, so you covered your face and waited for 10 seconds. When you looked up again, he was nowhere to be seen. You glanced over towards the way he went. Cove hadn't had much time to hide, but he was already invisible. The place you decided to check was... Peter Pan poster, fairy tale display, behind the solar system model. I'm gonna go with next to the Peter Pan poster. That's a lot of pa. The library had lots of little hidey holes all over the place along the walls. Your mom called them alcoves. Every single one had its own cool, shiny book poster next to it. This one had Peter Pan and a young girl flying through the sky, 2 younger kids trailing behind them. It was captioned Wendy Darling's First Flight in big, bold letters. Huh, that must be Wendy. But this wasn't where Cove was, at least not originally. Cove poked his head out of a tiny little seating area. Yeah, with her brothers Michael and John. Even having assumed that he was in there, you still jumped a little bit, which made Cove grin. I came out, but I guess it's still over.
Okay.
Your turn now. I'm gonna cover my eyes and count to 10. I promise I won't peek. While Cove had his eyes securely behind the palms of his hands, you went to go hide. Why is there a giant piece of fruit? You know what? It's the fruity month. I'm fruity. Let's go hide under the giant piece of fruit, I guess. Nobody had any idea why there was a giant peach sitting in a corner. It had something to do with a book about a kid named James. Lizzie had said once, but you'd never read it. Oh, James and the Giant Peach. That makes a lot of sense. Listen, I trust Cove. If he promises not to peek, I think he's a little dude of his word. I think we're fine. The huge sculpture mostly just took up a lot of space, but you could wedge yourself in next to it and hide carefully. Sure enough, it took a little while for Cove to find you. Long enough that you had gotten tired of sitting hunched up. You won this round and were ready to come out. Cove smiled when you stepped into the open. He was also glad for the resolution. Good hiding spot. I was about to start looking outside. Thanks, I'm pretty good at this. You grinned back as you brushed the debris off your clothes. Nobody had cleaned back there in a long time. Ew, all the dust and shit. I hate it.
Alright.
It's my turn again. Start counting so I can go pick a spot. Okay. Cove darted off before you had even had a chance to fully close your eyes. 1 Mississippi. When the time was up, he was long gone, again. There were still a lot of good places to hide, so you figured he was... Behind the Willy Wonka statues? How many things are in this library? Damn, when they said giant, they really meant like giant. My library growing up was a teeny little thing. Yeah, sure, behind the Willy Wonka statues. He must be next to all the Willy Wonka statues, you thought, and you were right. Cove was standing there looking at them. You must have missed him in the crowd at first sight. but he wasn't really hiding at all. Oh, hey. These are creepy. The statues were made of brass, Lizzie had told you once. Apparently, they were all the kids that had gone to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Charlie Bucket, Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt.
Ugh.
I was gonna hide here, but they're too weird. Let's keep playing. I can still win. He put his hands over his eyes, but before you could run off again, a librarian approached the two of you. Ah, kids, I've been looking for you. Cove peeked between his fingers at the stranger. Us? You must be Cove. Your dad told me he was waiting by the entrance. Cove blinked, mouth opening like he was going to say something, then glanced down as Pink cast. It was a pretty clear giveaway. Sure. I know, Wonka. Is my sister Lizzie with him? She's taller than us and has orange hair. You're Blake, right? You nodded. Phew, I found both of you at once. That's right, she's with him. And the little guy with freckles. Aw, Shiloh. He is just a little freckle boy. Come on, let's go get you reunited so we can close up for the night. Ready to go home, you and Cove followed him up front, where the ragtag group of family members and Shiloh were all waiting. There. Lizzie looks pissed. Why are you so mad, girl? The eyebrows and the eyes are always the giveaway. There you are. She was pouting. You could tell from all the way across the room, and it was only that much more obvious as you got closer. Did you win? We came in second. Oh, that's why she's so bitter. She didn't fucking win, so she's salty. Not Lizzie, leave. I feel the need to remind y'all, she's 10 years old. She might be a little bit of a brat, she might be a little rough around the edges, but she too is also still a little baby thing. Hey gang, I thought you'd have been with them the whole time, Cove. I'm glad you didn't just go off by yourself at least. Ha! I did the right thing! I did the right thing! He didn't go off alone. I don't care, 10 years old, and oh no, you're not wrong. See, I don't understand how Lizzie is so, prickly about everything. Because she's raised by the same moms my character is, and my character is a sweetheart. How you not having any sense here, girl? Relax. I still prefer Gene Wilder's version, but Chalamet was better than Johnny Depp. That's fair. See, I definitely like the new movie the best, but I don't know, that's just me. Mostly because the songs are a fucking bop, and I love Noodle. Okay, back to it. Cove glanced over at you, then back up at his dad.
Yeah.
Me too. A broad smile spread over Mr. Holden's face.
That's...
Even so. Next time you should... Cove? Cove? Cove's dad glanced around, slightly frantic, but Cove, just like always, had snuck off without thinking to say anything. He's leaving. Cove's trying to be the first one to the car. With a sudden burst of speed, Lizzie darted for the exit, still in Victor to be mode, even for something like a race to ride in the front seat. There was nothing else for the three of you to do except head after them, pretending the librarians hadn't noticed all the commotion. Though Lizzie had been victorious in claiming a window seat in the car, you could tell by her crossed arms and occasional pout that she still had not forgiven your betrayal. Lizzie, come on, we're not, attached at the hip. I went with Cove so he wasn't by himself, because being by himself would have been dangerous. Cove had sighed when he had to sit in the middle after Lizzie shot past him at the last second, but he cheered up some as you hopped in the back seat next to him. Did you say you came in second place? That's some good going.
No.
No, it's not. She levied another glare at you over her shoulder.
Sure.
Aha, sure. Striving to improve is good too. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Why is my sound being fucking weird right now? Hello? Last time I did a quick mute on mute, and that seemed to fix it, so we're gonna hope that fixes it. Poor Mr. Holden is doing his fucking best right now. He's trying to be like, oh, you did good, and Lizzie's just like, no. Your betrayal, the gaslighting is crazy. Can 10-year-olds gaslight if they don't understand what gaslighting is? I mean, I'm sure it's possible for, like, adults, but I don't know if a 10-year-old has, like, the capacity. No, please don't be. Listen, so many people simp over Cove's dad. Don't even get me started. I get concerned the amount of thirst in this community, if I'm being so honest. Okay. Hopefully that fixed it. If not, y'all will have to let me know if it's still coming in clear on your side. If it is, I'll just fucking deal. That makes Blake the winner in your family. That's me.
What?
Not Lizzie being like, what, excuse me? They didn't even play the goddamn quiz, what do you mean? Blake kept binding me in our game. I lost. We need a rematch. Hide and seek with just you two? That doesn't even count as winning. Yes, it does. There are so many competitions between two people. What? Lizzie, that 1000% can count as winning. What do you mean?
Why?
Why not? It's not special. There's no judges or prizes. Okay, so it's an informal competition. What? You eyed the seat that she'd fought so hard to win. That wasn't much of a prize either. Damn fucking right. Dad? Yes? You could see Cove's dad's eyes in the rear-view mirror, suddenly attentive at his son's call. We need a prize. Oh, as a matter of fact, Mr. Holden focused intently on the road ahead as though a suitable reward to please Cove might appear before him. Right. The big thing on the flyer for this was the chance to get a free pizza coupon, wasn't it? How about I call up a takeout place and we can have pizza at home for dinner? Lizzie huffed, pulling her arms closer to her chest. Is Mom even gonna let you take a pizza from Mr. Holden? We'll see. I'll ask her. I'll talk to all your moms about this. Thanks, Cove's dad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Holden. Yeah, thanks, Dad. You're welcome. I do what I can. I love him. He's such a good dad. He's doing his best out here. But you really should have stuck with the group. The quiz would have been fun. That was the plan when I dropped you off. We stayed together and didn't leave the library. I'm glad for that. I am. Well, there's a lot of trouble you can get into, even if you do have a buddy along for the ride. Just be careful next time. I worry about you, and I bet Blake's parents wouldn't want them to run off unexpectedly either. Okay, son?
Okay.
Aw, he's so, gentle in the way he corrects Cove, and I love him for it. That's my boy. Now, enough guff from your old dad. Let's decide what kind of toppings we're gonna get. Pepperoni. Sounds good. Anything else? And the conversation continued from there, with debates on what was best to put on a pizza for the rest of the drive. Mr. Holden wanted anchovies, and the other 3 kids in the car had to band together to explain how gross they were. The way Cove's dad laughed up in the front seat made you wonder if he was doing it on purpose. You'd had a fun day already, but closing it out with the promise of a free pizza after all, and more time to hang out with Cove, made it even sweeter. You were glad you decided not to do the quiz this time, and were already getting excited about how things would play out next year. They're so cute. I love them. Everybody in this game is so fucking sweet and wholesome. Like, what is this? Okay. Up next, we're on Ghost. Let's fucking go. Quick water break real quick. Y'all, make sure you're drinking water. It's important to be hydrated. Okie dokie. Ghost time. The night was incredibly still. You really couldn't ignore how silent it was. It was almost eerie. You could even hear Lizzie snoring in the next room over. That would drive me fucking insane. Not the sips tea instead. Fair. It was hard to believe how much of a blur today was. Summer sure did slip right past you. You flicked through the moments like pages in a scrapbook as you laid in bed. The ones that stuck out all seemed to include your new neighbor Cove. It was funny how he had become such a big part of your life in such a short span of time. You thought a lot about what adventures you could have tomorrow until sleep started to catch up to you. Then you heard something scrape against the window. It wasn't that uncommon for the wind to push a tree branch against the glass. Summer breezes were the worst sometimes. But the more you tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed like it became. It was like something was trying to get your attention. You lifted your head off the pillow to get a better look. Nothing was there. Nothing you could see, at least. You just went back to bed. It was only your imagination. You had to investigate. I feel like baby Blake would have been like, I'm gonna just go to sleep. It'll be fine. Everything's good. We're not gonna investigate it. You tried again to close your eyes and go to sleep. But the unknown scratching sounds didn't stop. It left your heart pounding. I don't think an 8-year-old should be wandering out into the night alone, so yeah, let's go. You want to talk to your moms about it. Your nerves were wound tight, ready to burst. Sleeping like this was not an option, and neither was waiting for whatever it was to make its next move. You took a breath, then cast the covers aside and leapt out of bed. You were out of the room, down the stairs, and into the still brightly lit safety of the living room in a matter of moments.
Are you okay?
Blake, what's wrong, sweetie? Your entrance had been swift, but had not been silent. That was good. Your moms hurried to your side while you were catching your breath. The TV show they were watching continued to play in the background. Told them you were scared. Be honest, your mamas aren't gonna judge you for being afraid of the noise. You reached for the closest parent and clung to her for dear life. There's a loud noise coming from the window. Aw, did it frighten you? Yeah. Mommy crouched down and held your hand, and Mom wrapped her arms around you. You felt the concern slip away. Nothing bad could happen while you were with your moms.
You alright with that?
Why don't the three of us go upstairs and check together? We'll see what's causing the racket. Okay, Joe, are you just gonna simp for all of the parents in this visual novel? I love you, but, I have to pick on you for it. Good plan. Blake, can you be brave and show us where the sound was coming from? We want to be extra specially sure that we've checked thoroughly. You nodded. Mom released you from the hug with a proud look. Not the maybe. It's okay. Wait till you meet Cove's mom later. I'm not gonna lie. Cove's mom is kind of... We'll get there. It's fine. Yeah, Mom released you from the hug with a proud look. I can't get distracted by simping for characters right now. You led them back to your room, still clutching Mommy's hand. Stopping in the doorway, you pointed to the window. It came from there, but I couldn't see anything. I'll go investigate. She flicked the light on with a click. Your heart leapt to your chest as Mom approached the window. Kneeling on your bed, she made a show of inspecting the area from every angle. I don't see anything either. Something was there. I heard it. Alright, you and Mommy stay back there and I'll keep looking. I have to go outside, but it'll be done in a jiffy. If it is the wind, we'll have to do our best to sleep through the sounds. If it's something else, it won't be there for much longer. She's ready to take down anything that dares stress her kid out. Like, look at that face. Mom's ready to go fight everything, and I love her for it. She winked at you and punched one palm with the fist of her other hand. Wait. Aww. Give her a flashlight. I think that's good. You stepped into the room and rummaged in the drawers next to your bed. If Mom was going to take on whatever had been at your window, she should have some way to see what's happening. This'll help. Smiling, Mom accepted your offer. It sure will. Thanks, Blake. Mom then boldly left your room to put an end to the mystery. You scurried back to Mommy, who brushed your hair reassuringly. After a little while, your racing heart began to return to its normal pace and your eyelids grew heavy.
It's okay.
You might be comfier back on the bed. I can keep watch. Okay. Let's get you all settled in, nice and safe. Mommy made a nest of pillows and cushions, which you eagerly snuggled into. Your head was elevated so you could see the window. At least you could when you could keep your eyes open. Mommy sat beside the bed, still stroking your hand. Mom and I can take care of this. You just worry about getting enough sleep for tomorrow. I know it'll be another big day. Before you could even think of doing otherwise, you drifted off to sleep. When you woke up the next morning, it took a few moments to remember the events from the night before. Your moms weren't there right now. I think I'd be feeling better at this point. Like, everybody took care of everything. I trust my moms. Yeah, but you were feeling better. With the light sunshine glowing against the back of your curtains, it didn't seem so dangerous anymore. You hopped out of bed and headed down to breakfast, finding your parents already seated at the dining table. Mommy with a giant cup of coffee in her hands, and Mom with her nose in some papers.
How are you?
Good morning, honey. Were you able to sleep well? I'ma guess yes, sure. I dreamt I was a penguin sliding across the snow on my belly. Mommy smiled at you fondly, holding back a laugh.
How about you?
No more strange occurrences to report? My investigation didn't turn up anything either. It must have been more scared of us than we were of it and ran off. I think you might be right, Pam. Sit down and have some breakfast while the toast is still warm. What kind of topping would you like? Peanut butter toast is so good. Give me some peanut butter toast right the fuck now. Sure. Mommy slid the jar over to you and you dug in, grabbing a slice of toast and spreading the nutty-smelling butter over it. After breakfast, you decided to take a walk to the playground to get some fresh air. You headed towards the playground, taking off your shoes so the soft sand squished between your toes. You spotted a familiar head of green hair. Cove, my dude! Cove was sitting in one of the swings, but he wasn't swinging at all, and when you moved closer, you noticed that his eyes were closed. Cove? Positioning yourself in front of him, you could see that he was breathing softly, and his glasses had fallen down his nose a little. After a moment or two, you realized he couldn't hear you, so you said his name again, a little louder this time. Cove! This time he stirred, letting out a soft groan at the interruption. Then Cove yawned and pushed his glasses back up his nose, blinking sleepily against the bright sun. Wake up, sleepyhead. Cove yawned again, and you raised an eyebrow at him. I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well last night. There were these weird noises outside. You looked at him in shock, your heart beating faster in your chest, and your palms beginning to sweat. Could Cove have heard the same thing as you? What kind of noises? Cove was quiet for a moment, his nose crinkled in thought. Like scratching, like clawing against the side of the house, trying to climb up it. I went outside to check. I gotta be honest, that was risky, Cove. Maybe you don't go outside and look? Yeah, that sounds like it was a risky idea. If there was a monster with claws, what were you going to do? I would have run away. Don't say things like you're my dad. Okay, that's fair. Just concerned friend, concerned buddy, that's all. Cove was annoyed, but you knew more than ever that you had been right to stay inside when you heard the noises too. What if something bad had happened to Cove? I was just asking. Did you find anything? Cove shrugged simply at the question, his mouth set in a grim line. Nothing. Then the sound stopped. That's a relief. You let out a breath, happy that Cove didn't have an encounter with anything sinister lurking in the streets. The thought of it really being nothing gave you comfort, and you knew you'd find it easier to sleep that night. After that, the rest of the afternoon went by pretty normally, with Cove and you spending a little more time at the park together. That evening, when it started to grow dark once more, you thought back on what Cove had told you, how he didn't find anything outside his house during the night. You held on to that memory, letting it comfort you and keep you brave when you went to bed, knowing that you had nothing to fear. That was cute. Okay. So the goal is to at least finish these 3 moments and then summer ended. And who knows, maybe we'll even get a peek into step 2. Who fucking knows? Not me. But that's currently the goal. Considering we're about halfway through the stream, I think we'll be able to finish at least that. I know, not my little 8-year-old self finding comfort in Cove and just... They're so sweet. I love them so much. It's time for a barbecue. I'm nervous about Runaway. I'm not gonna lie. The Runaway one feels like it's gonna be stressful. The sleepover one's probably gonna be real cute though. You'd been brought along to the big park today, which did an excellent job of living up to its title. The park near your house, with its lonely playground equipment, wasn't even a quarter of the size of the expanse of grass and trees that lay before you now. As it was in the next town over, and too far for you to walk to by yourself, you didn't get to visit it much, and so you soaked up the environment. Another difference between this park and the one in your neighborhood was that this one had visitors other than you, Lizzie, Shiloh, and Cove. Today it was the busiest you'd ever seen it, thanks to a community get-together of luring people in from all over the local area with the promise of barbecue and fireworks. Your family and Cove's were just 2 of many. What seemed like dozens of cars were parked up already when you had arrived. You saw Cove hesitate when he took in the growing gaggle of strangers. By your mommy, Lizzie bounced on the balls of her feet, barely containing her excitement. Okay, have fun, Darkwing. Thanks for hanging out. I feel like for me it'd be all about the food. So yeah, I think your tummy was already rumbling for the food to come. It was going to be so good. I fucking love barbecue. Mommy had told you that the people running the community event weren't charging for it, but she wanted to do something, wanted them to get something in return. Which is why you'd not been allowed to touch the beautifully iced cupcakes she had carried on her lap during the drive over. It was a special treat for them. Every time the car made a turn, she'd clutch the box tight enough for her knuckles to strain, much to everyone else's amusement. Mr. Holden's contribution to the party, a huge pack of juice boxes, was tucked under his arm after being retrieved from the car's trunk. You bet there had been no such dramatics around that cargo getting here in one piece, but the boxes did lack the beautiful shimmer of Mommy's treasured cupcakes.
Okie dokie.
Oh, the okie dokie. Everyone all set? Should be. Cove, did you put sunscreen on before we left? Yeah, I always do. You don't have to tell me. Oh, the confident independence of an 8-year-old. But we all know that if Mr. Holden hadn't said shit, Cove would have forgot and then got sunburned. Be so for real. Mr. Holden deflated, his attempt at caring for his son rebuffed, but he triumphed with a smile.
Good kid.
Good kid. I don't want you getting burned, or dehydrated either. It'll be a busy day.
Well,
Don't think there's going to be any risk of that second part. Mom nodded at the tables up ahead, laden with all kinds of food and drink. She was right, there was plenty to go around. Parents headed over with you, Lizzie, and Cove trailing after them. A bunch of grown-ups were clustered around there chatting, but you were more intrigued by what was on the tables. Some of it was familiar: chilled meat, sliced vegetables, big bags of chips, but there was a lot that you didn't recognize. Your moms had said that you weren't to touch the food until they said it was time to eat. I mean, I don't see harm in taking just a little bit. Just a little. If you could nab something and pop it in your mouth without anyone noticing, no one could be upset. You chose to grab... Oh, give me the baby tomato, hell yeah. You put the whole thing in your mouth and chewed as superstitiously as you could manage. Cove definitely caught what you were up to. Luckily, he seemed to think it was funny and only smirked quietly. You saw that Mommy and Mr. Holden had deposited the food and drink they'd brought. Mommy gave the cupcakes one final worried look, before turning to you with a smile. Since that's the topic at hand now, how about we freshen up with something to drink? You'd think Lizzie would have her own friends? I mean, she has Shiloh, but apparently Shiloh wasn't here today. Yeah, that'd be great. Along with the ones out, there was a giant ice cooler on the ground, stuffed full of cans of soda, boxes of juice and milk, as well as bottles of water. Your drink was... At 8 years old, I wasn't really drinking soda, so let's go with the juice. I feel like milk in a hot day just wouldn't sit well in your stomach. You slurped the sweet juice through the straw until all too soon you were sucking up only air. Your little group took a break while everyone quenched their thirst. Mr. Holden smacked his lips, pantomiming enjoyment. Jesus Christ. Some of these words I've never seen outside of this game. Be for real. That hit the spot, but you kids should go have fun. You can take your stuff with you and join the other kids playing games. Just don't go too far from the tables. We'll be keeping an eye out, so don't even think about sneaking off. We're not going to the other parts of the park today." Lizzie huffed at their comments. They did sound directed at her, but she scanned the surroundings. Nodding her head towards a group of kids like a general directing their battalion, she pointed the way.
Come on.
"Come on, let's go over there." Cove's mouth was downturned as he looked from the parents and the other adults to the new kids, clearly not favoring either option. But ultimately, he hunched his shoulders and tagged along after Lizzie. Yeah, let's go play with the other kids too. If Cove's doing it, there's no reason we can't. You followed after Lizzie and Cove, who were waiting for you on the outskirts of the group of parents. "Hurry up!" You picked up the pace, moving into a jog, but when Lizzie pelted away at full speed, you and Cove had no choice but to break out into a run. The other kids were far out in the field. Still, at your speed, it wasn't long until you'd reached them. As you approached, they turned around to greet the newcomers.
Hi.
"Hi, I'm Lizzie. That's my little sibling Blake. The one with the cast is Cove." "Hi." Cove simply lifted a hand in greeting. There was a chorus of hellos and names from the older kids. One of the kids looked to be about Lizzie's age or older. A couple seemed to be the same age as you and Cove, and there was one tiny little thing with his arms folded over his chest. "What are you up to?" The first kid, a boy with curly black hair and neon green sneakers, who introduced himself as Hayden, shrugged as he looked to the others. "Not much." The second kid to pipe up, Lisa, had half her face obscured behind the huge glasses she wore. "We haven't decided yet." She glanced wistfully over her shoulder. Following her gaze, you saw the spray of water first and heard the shriek as someone got splashed in the face before you spotted the person shooting them. Some people are playing with water guns, but there aren't any left. The smallest kid, Noah, grumbled at that. You guessed that's why he was sulking. Spencer, who hadn't said much, patted his shoulder. "So that's out." A new kid raced over with a glint in her eyes and her braids streaming behind her. You spotted the plastic orange pistol in her hand too late when the trigger had already been pressed. "Ah, rude. Hey." Lizzie, who'd been caught first, was fuming. Cove wiped the water from his face. You rubbed at your ear, trying to dislodge the water that had pooled there. Yeah, don't spray people. I think the overall rule with water guns should be only go at other people with water guns, because it's the only way it's fair. Like, if you're just going after people who have nothing to defend themselves, it's kinda lame. Unless they've already agreed to it. But, like, we're a group of strangers, so maybe you fucking don't. Yeah, don't spray people. You were with Lizzie. It was mean to spray people who weren't playing too. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're not playing, leave us the hell alone. The girls simply darted off to find more victims, unaffected by your reaction. Okay, that was rude, but okay. She doesn't mean anything by it. Lizzie tutted, flicking her hair out of her face. The girl, not meaning anything by it, didn't change the fact that she'd been sprayed. Cove looked similarly unimpressed. Lisa's face lit up as she had an idea. Hey, we should catch her. She won't be able to spray people if she's running away from everybody. Yeah. Cove nodded as the other kids murmured their interest or lack of it in the game. Let's do it! Let's get her! You joined the group of kids and tearing off after the girl with the pistol. Spotting you all over her shoulder, she laughed and shot her pistol in the air. Only a couple of drops squeezed out. She swerved, causing discord within your team as someone stood on your foot and you collided with Cove's shoulder. Sorry. Cove shot you a smile that gave you a feeling of camaraderie. It's okay. You were closing in on the girl, but you weren't alone. Lizzie's face was set with intent, and the two older kids were hot on her heels too. Yeah, I don't think I was fast at running as a kid. I don't know if I was super slow, but definitely was not fast. Yeah, you weren't as fast as them because you weren't fast. You pushed yourself, willing your legs to move just a bit faster, but it was useless. Even if they weren't especially fast, it was too speedy for you. Lisa lunged and tackled her friend to the ground. Got her! Panting, she punched the air in triumph, then pushed her glasses back up the bridge of her nose. The girl who had been caught giggled as she got to her feet, brushing strands of grass from her knees. Smiling, Cove came to a stop at your side. Lizzie whooped with delight, clapping her hands. The boy with the bright sneakers grinned. You're it now. Catch us if you can. Yeah. I'll do it. You won't get away from me. With that, you all dispersed, squealing and laughing as you tried to evade capture. The sour mood from earlier had evaporated entirely, replaced by a light and playful atmosphere. Several rounds later, when most of the kids had taken at least one turn the scent of smoke wafted up to your nose. Caught by surprise, you looked up and found that the brilliant blue of the sky had turned orange as the sun sunk down on the horizon. With all the excitement, you lost track of time completely. Looking over, you saw people standing over the grills and poking them to life. It was nearly time to eat. We should get over there. I'm so hungry. Our parents are at different spots. Yeah. Bye. It was cool playing. Yeah. Yep. Bye. Bye. You waved goodbye to the other group of kids before hurrying over to your parents with Lizzie and Cove. A tickle unfurled in your throat, growing more persistent as you came closer to the source of the smoke. As the three of you approached the table, your parents spotted you and came to join you halfway. You tried to greet them, but another cough obstructed your words. Oof, that's quite a cough. Are you alright, sweetie? Nodded confidently. I'm fine. It's a little cough. Are you sure? No one needs to go up to the grills if they don't want to. Just let me know what you need. There was no response from the other two kids here. March over. No, I can do it. Alright, but tell me if it gets too much for you.
So,
The main thing being served is kebabs. You can have whatever you'd like on it. There's different meats and veggies. As you approached, you found the vast array of bits and pieces ready to be skewered and served up. You chose. Oh, I love everything. Let's do chicken, beef, potatoes, onions, and peppers. That's good. That sounds like a bomb-ass kebab, if I'm being so honest. This game's gonna make me hungry with all the talks of food. And that's everything. Sounds good to me. The veggies will be good for you. Order given, you waited for your food to be ready. Lizzie headed towards you, having issued her own request. Hi again. I heard what you ordered. I'm getting a chicken kebab with all 3 colors of peppers. Noticing that Cove approached, she turned to him. What are you having?
why?
Why does it matter? I don't know. I was just asking. I'm getting beef and shrimp with all the vegetables except onions. Lizzie hummed while evaluating his response. That's okay, I guess, but chicken is definitely the better one. Then you can eat all the chicken. I'm going to. All the chicken in the world?
No.
No, that's dumb. You know what I mean. Lizzie peered over to the grills where the kebabs were being handed out. A growing assortment of kebabs collected in your parents' hands. They're coming over. Don't get jealous of mine when you realize you made the wrong choice, Cove. Lizzie, why must you turn everything into right or wrong and mine is better than yours and I have the best option? Like, dude just wants to eat his goddamn kebab in peace. Lizzie, why are you like this? You made me regret picking chicken. Be so fucking for real right now. I didn't make the wrong choice. There isn't a wrong choice. For real, the best food is the food you like the way you like it. It's just what kebab somebody eats. The person serving gave your mommy one final kebab, then your parents moved over to rejoin you. Between them, they were carrying 6 kebabs, one for each of you, including Cove and Mr. Holden. We got the goods. Cove's daddy is looking for a place we can sit. In the meantime, they began passing out the kebabs to their rightful owners. Lizzie smiled smugly as she received hers. Lizzie. These are pretty big. Be careful not to drop it. Try not to poke yourselves with the ends either. They're sharper than you might think. Hearing that, you tentatively pushed the tip of the skewer against your finger. It felt like the point of a newly sharpened pencil. Though it didn't hurt your hand, you wouldn't want it scraping the roof of your mouth or jabbing your tongue. Mommy clucked her tongue. It would have been nice if the options were a little easier to manage and less messy to eat, especially for smaller kids. There aren't even plates for everyone, so we could set the food down for a second.
True.
That's what you get for the price of free, but we can hack it, right? Exactly. I like her energy about this. It's literally free food. You can't, you cannot be, happy with it, I guess, but to complain over something that's free is a little lame. It's free. It didn't cost you anything. Relax. Lizzie nodded her head vigorously, clutching her kebab like a trophy. Your parents led you back to the tables. It was immediately evident why Mr. Holden had been sent to scout out one. The benches had quickly filled up as people got their food. Mr. Holden was standing over a corner section near the edges of the sitting area. He beckoned your group over to join him. You clambered onto the bench, taking care not to let your kebab slip from your fingers. Cove took a seat next to you. Lizzie took the other side. Your mom passed the final unclaimed kebab to Mr. Holden.
Thank you.
Thanks, this looks delicious. Thank you for getting us a space out here. Everyone tucked into their food. You gobbled it up eagerly, only partially obstructed by the awkwardness of eating from a skewer. Running around with the other kids had helped you work up an appetite. Mr. Holden, what do you do? Well, I do lots of things. Do you play golf? Only if you count mini golf. One look at Lizzie's stricken face confirmed that she did not. She could enjoy the occasional round of mini golf at a mini golf place, especially if she had an audience to impress, but your sister took her passion very seriously. Even then, it's been years since I gave it a shot. Cove groaned at the feeble pun. Mom chuckled. You weren't sure if she was responding to the joke, Cove's annoyance, or Lizzie's offense.
Don't worry about it.
Just as well she'd be dragging you to the green every week. That's because I've got dedication. You need a good drive or two to get far. Mr. Holden nodded, clicking his tongue in appreciation. Cove looked from his father to your sister, lost in the conversation. Outclassed in golf and wit. I don't get it. A drive is a type of golf shot. You should give real golf a try. Maybe I'll even teach you some tricks. I don't know why my sound is being so... Why my sound being weird? I don't know if it's coming out weird on y'all's end, but it's literally giving like robo bullshit and I don't know why. Don't try to change my dad to be more like you. Lizzie gave Cove a dirty look at the accusation. Mommy felt the need to move the topic ahead before it got heated. Good idea. Moving it along before these two fight, because these two always fucking fight.
Oh, nice.
I really hope it's just on my end. It's weird for you too. I don't understand why. Before, when I muted it and unmuted it, it was fine. I've tried adjusting on my end, and that doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, we're gonna try... This'll make it quieter, but maybe it won't be as fucked. I don't know. Let's turn it down on both. And we'll see if that does anything to make it better. I don't know why it sounds so fucking weird. Unfortunately, I'm making it so quiet that I'm not going to be able to hear it. Yeah, it happened with The Sims one time, and I don't know what's causing it, but I'm so over it. Because that means when this goes up, it's gonna be fucking weird forever. That's so irritating. Yeah, I don't fucking know. If anything, I can get rid of the voice acting for a little bit. If it's still bad, keep your ears peeled or some shit. That's really sweet of you, but I'm sure Mr. Holden is busy. He might not have time for another hobby. Yeah, I don't think I'm made for that. Still, the offer is appreciated. It still sounds fucking weird. Okay, for the time being, what we're gonna do is just straight up get rid of the voice because the music is fine. I don't know why the voice is being weird, but I don't want to deal with it. So we're just gonna not do the voice for the last like hour, and I will try and figure out what the fuck the computer's problem is. If I gotta take a goddamn hammer to the thing, I might at this point. Fucking hell. Then tell me something you really do already. You just go away every day. I like scuba diving, though with the business, that's more work than play these days. Surfing and reading, snorkeling. Those are things Cove likes. Mr. Holden exaggeratedly puffed out his chest. What can I say? My boy's got good taste. He takes after his dad in that way. The sun had been setting when you'd got your food, and by the time you'd finished, night had truly fallen. Your sticky fingers were the only remaining evidence of your meal. The kebab had been a great combination, more than the sum of its parts. The seasoning of freedom to choose every ingredient yourself was what made it something to remember. Rising from the table, Mommy held up her water bottle. Okay, now that the food is gone, you've got to wash your hands. Blake, Lizzie, please hold them out. Lizzie complied, coming over and cupping her hands together in front of her. Mommy splashed some water over her fingers and Lizzie rubbed them together, working off any residue. Here. Mom passed her a paper towel from her purse and Lizzie used it to dry off her hands. Your turn, Blake. You readily held your hands out to catch the water. Yeah, I feel like the feeling would be like, eh. Copying Lizzie, you washed your hands, taking care to clean every crevice between your fingers before wiping them dry. Nearby, Cove had taken his own course of action, wiping his hands on his pants and leaving a stain where his fingers had been. Mr. Holden shook his head. Let's clean that off, pal. He scrubbed at the fabric with a scrunched-up napkin. Dad, it's not that bad. When everyone was cleaned up, or as clean as they could be with the limited facilities, Mom spoke up. Let's go make one last check at the coolers and restock on drinks before the fireworks show. No time. We have to get a good spot. Everywhere's going to be taken. How about I go ahead to save space again? You can meet up with me in the field after getting the drinks. Then I'm going with Cove's dad. I'll find the perfect place. Sure thing. I could use an extra pair of eyes. Mommy shook her head ruefully at Lizzie's even more enthusiastic than usual attitude. All right, me, Cliff, and Lizzie can go find a place to sit. Pam, Cove, and Blake, do you want to go get the drinks? Okay. You nodded. We got this. We'll get some drinks. As Mommy, Lizzie, and Mr. Holden headed off into the wide open field where the fireworks were being set up, you joined Cove and Mom in returning to the cooler where you'd picked up drinks earlier. Even as you approached, you suspected you wouldn't find much in it. Where it had originally been stocked to the brim, it was now half empty. The ice, which had cushioned the drinks and kept them cool, was largely melted, with only a handful of pieces floating like tiny icebergs. Slim pickings. The drinks that remained looked to be bottles of plain water, but you caught a glimpse of something more colorful in amongst them. Mom rummaged around in the cooler, excavating a couple of juice boxes from the bottom in the process. Aha! Blake, Cove, you can take one of those if you want. The perks of helping. Take a juice box to share and a water bottle for yourself. Cove hesitated, but decided to take a juice box for himself. When you were each loaded up with your choice of drink, plus an extra bottle or two for someone else in the group, Mom's phone started to ring. She juggled the water bottles over into the crook of her arm and looked at the caller. It's Mommy. Hold tight while I get this. Hey, hon, how's it going? Did you find our perfect spot already? She nodded along to the call, punctuated by ahas as Mommy gave her directions. Catching your eye, she gestured towards the grassy area. We've got a place. Come on, we'd better hurry before the show starts. You and Cove jogged after your mom, who led you through the field and the separate groups of people assembled there, back to the rest of your families. Hello, we're here. And we come bearing drinks, though there wasn't much left. The three of you handed over the spare drinks. You held up the extra juice box. I brought this for someone. You're so thoughtful, Blake. Aw. Despite Mommy replying pretty expectantly, there was just one person who made a claim to the sweet drink. Can I have it? Okay. Thanks, I love you, Blake. Aw, that's fucking cute. Aw. You two are a real pair. Once everyone had been equipped with a drink for the big event, you sat on the grass beside Cove and waited for the magic to begin. Most people in the park had taken a seat now, with a few stragglers silhouetted back at the tables in the distance. A few rambunctious kids were still dashing about, but their number was steadily decreasing as their parents called them over and restored order. Someone bearing a cardboard box weaved between the groups, pausing every so often. You nudged Cove and pointed. What are they doing? It looks like they're handing something out. I can't make out what it is. I hope it's not drinks. Fucking fair. That is valid as hell. Mommy chuckled, but Lizzie and Cove were now watching the bestower of mystery goods keenly. Are they gonna come to us too? Mom softly put her hands on top of your sister's shoulders as if she feared Lizzie might bolt over to the stranger. Lizzie didn't even glance at her, eyes locked on the potential prize. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I feel like I would be intrigued. I'd be like, what you got? What you handing out to people? What is it? Yeah, you were intrigued. Studying the man with the box closely as he gradually meandered nearer, you could make out that he was handing out small items to most of the groups he stopped at. They seemed too short to be water bottles, but beyond that it remained a mystery. Then the box man made his way to your group. Evening. I'm handing out dessert. Any takers? There's dessert? Lizzie squealed, hopping up off the ground. The man chuckled. Ooh. I'm gonna take that as a yes. Ice cream's on the menu, vanilla flavored with a twist of either chocolate or strawberry syrup. Nice. None for me though, thanks. Same, but the offer is appreciated. I want chocolate. Can I have strawberry? And a strawberry for me too, please. Now you are going to have to make a decision, chocolate or strawberry. Oh, I gotta get chocolate. Oh, not that you were lactose intolerant. Bold of you to assume that stops anybody who is lactose intolerant from eating ice cream, for real. I've never seen one person who took being lactose intolerant seriously. Yeah, I'm gonna get chocolate. Reaching into the box, the man brought out the requested ice creams and tossed them out. It came packaged with a little plastic cup, in a little plastic cup, complete with a wooden spoon stuck to the paper lid. The condensation wet your fingers in a pleasant way. Thank you. Kids, are you going to thank the nice man too? There was a chorus of thanks. He cordially nodded and walked off to another group. The man couldn't spend much time with each group, considering how many he had to get to. You peeled back the tab and covered the ice cream and got right into your unexpected treat. It tasted amazing. Lizzie was definitely enjoying hers. Cove was too. You couldn't help thinking about how Cove had strawberry while you had chocolate. Offer him a bite of yours. Wait, no, want a bite of mine is so cute. Please offer to Cove. He looked around awkwardly, but nodded nonetheless. You caught a bit of ice cream, making sure to hit the chocolate swirl that distinguished it from Cove's, and held it out for him. He nibbled at it. Do you want some of mine? Yeah. He scooped out a chunk of ice cream with his wooden spoon before holding it out to you. You took it gladly, and it was gone in one bite. Aww. Mommy was gazing at the two of you. Her mouth was an open smile, as if she was about to say something else, but Mom tugged on her collar. Don't embarrass them. It's so fucking cute, though. Yeah, I don't blame her. I'd low-key want to embarrass them, too, because that shit's so fucking sweet. Hey, if you're sharing, I'll take some. You don't need it. You both have the same flavor. So what? Okay, fine, Lizzie. You can have some. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're the best. She enthusiastically took a bite of your ice cream before then offering you a bite of hers in exchange. In the end, that kind of made it pointless. You each just ate the same chocolate ice cream out of different cups. Your mommy did like to say that it was the thought that counted, though. Ignoring that conundrum, Lizzie turned her attention back to her own cup of ice cream. Lizzie munched away happily, but it ultimately didn't succeed in monopolizing her attention. Eyes wide, she looked at her mommy and pulled on her pants. I didn't get strawberry. Can I have some of yours, please? Of course, sweetie. Lizzie cooed with excitement as Mommy presented her with a dollop of the ice cream and syrup mixture. Licking her lips, Lizzie lapped it up. Mommy, come on now. Lizzie has all the ice cream she needs. She simply laughed and pinched Lizzie's cheek, then dug her spoon in again and held it out to you. I just can't resist. Blake, would you like some of mine? They've got a whole cup of ice cream to eat already and had a bite of Cove's and Lizzie's. I think that's plenty. But that's not the same as getting a little extra from your mommy. Sure, why the hell not? It's ice cream. Enjoy the ice cream. You ate the treat being offered, much to Mom's chagrin and Mommy's delight. Cove watched the exchange silently with a blank expression. Mom, on the other hand, shook her head, a fond smile on her face. Well, you better at least give me some, too. You could have gotten your own if you wanted ice cream. What? The kids have ice cream already and they're getting some of yours to boot, and I have nothing? Now is when you decide to be firm? Laughing, Mommy fed some ice cream to your sulking mom. She could never actually follow through with being tough. There, all better now? Yes. Good. How about you, Cliff? Would you like some? Joe, please stop. Don't make it weird. This is my mother. No, I'm still okay, but thanks for keeping me in mind. Cove, it's only fair that you get the choice too. Cove shook his head firmly, concentrating on his own cup. Mommy smiled. Okay, as long as no one is feeling left out. Mommy was always so nice to everyone. Then the first firework cut through the sky, whistling as it ascended until it hit its crescendo with an explosion. The park flashed as if alight. Squealing, Lizzie leapt to her feet, her forgotten ice cream tumbling to the ground, as the fireworks crackled into tiny drops of glitter in the sky. It's starting! Everyone else looked up at the sky as another firework whizzed through the air. With each explosion, Lizzie would jump into the air. I feel like I wouldn't be as hyped as Lizzie, but I think it would be impossible. It was impossible to tear your eyes from the scene. Cove sat by his dad, captivated by the sky sparkles and flashes overhead. Mr. Holden watched the fireworks scene impassively. He did smile at you and even gave a thumbs up when he noticed you looking over. Mommy hopped to her feet, pulling Mom with her, pushing her into joining Lizzie and jumping up in tandem with every crack of a firework. Mommy then bent down to offer you a hand up too. Not you got up to join your family, beckoning for Cove to join too. Yes, please include Cove. Cove got to his feet, tailing after you as you stood up with your family. Your mom's faces lit up, literally and metaphorically, as you approached. The five of you shrieked and leapt along with the sparkles in the sky, not trying to contain your joy at experiencing the sights together. The fireworks continued, some twisting like the coil of a spring as they arched into the air, others shooting straight up from the ground and shattering into a million tiny specks. Every color got its spotlight in the show, from fiery reds to eerie greens and blues that could rival the ocean. The show built up to a grand finale that boomed over the park and filled every inch of the sky, the twinkling lights representing the full spectrum of the rainbow. Hell yeah, a rainbow during Pride, buddies! The exhilaration that had fueled you while the fireworks were going off was sapped dry now that the show had finished. You collapsed into a giggling heap on the ground, suddenly aware of how your legs ached from your exertion. Cove tumbled down with you, his expression gleeful. Mr. Holden watched his son with an expression much happier than the one he'd worn while watching the show. Lizzie gave a final whoop of delight and shared a high five with Mom as Mommy shouted for an encore into the night. You didn't know what that meant, but you liked the way it made Mom laugh. Though the sun had gone down long ago, the air on your bare arms was warm. You took in your giddy family, their spirits buoyed by the firework display when your new friend and his father, who looked happy in their own quieter way, and smiled. This had been a pretty special night. Some of these are so much longer than other ones, I swear. Like, I should be timing the moments themselves, because some of these feel super short and some of them feel much longer. Encore, encore. Not 8-year-old me being like, I don't know what that means, but Mom laughed at it, so it's cool. Which is honestly, like, such an 8-year-old thing, I think. Like, they really did good at capturing, like, the age with this. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous about the whole runaway thing. Okay. Let's fucking go, I guess. It was early and you were on your way to the playground. Lizzie planned on joining you there later. You weren't sure what she was busy with right now. Older kid stuff, you imagined. That was okay. What was forefront in your mind was if Cove might be free to come too. As you walked the familiar street, wondering how you might find your neighbor, he appeared right in front of you, almost as if he was a mind reader. Hi, Cove. Can you come to the playground with me? No, sorry. Cove looked strangely serious. It had to be an even bigger deal than whatever mystery thing Lizzie had to do. I'm leaving, Blake. What? Where? He shifted, and your gaze was drawn to the backpack slung over his shoulders. Cove liked to stuff things in his pockets, from what you've seen, but people sometimes carried bags with them. It hadn't been very attention-worthy until now. The pack was decorated with cartoon waves and dolphins. He gripped one of the straps tightly with his good hand. I just wanted you to know. Cove didn't glance up and meet your eyes. You started to grow worried. I don't get it. I don't get it. But where are you? He's leaving. But where are you going? He didn't answer. It was as if you hadn't said anything. I'll come back, though, sometime. I don't know when, but we can do stuff then. He directed a fragile smile your way. Without another word, Cove turned on his heel and started to walk away. Wait a minute, where are you going? Wait, time out! He kept going, his focus wasn't on you anymore. What was that about? You watched as his back grew smaller and smaller, then you realized that you were still standing in the middle of the sidewalk. You thought about your earlier plan of playing at the park. Suddenly, it didn't seem as fun anymore, not without Cove. But it wasn't like you could force him to play with you. He had things to do. I'm gonna stay here for a minute. What the hell is going on? You could play at the park some other time. It wasn't like it was going anywhere, and you couldn't bring yourself to leave like this. You didn't move from your spot, you just continued to look on quietly. It didn't take long to realize that he was just going up the street. You were positive there was nothing good over there. Not the park, or the beach, or the store street, or his house, or anything. He was new, he might not know what you did. You jogged down the street to catch up to him. You slowed down once you reached his side. He glanced at you from the corner of his eye and frowned. Go away, Blake. I just wanted to say you're going the wrong way. There aren't any places the way you're going. His mouth twisted further. He didn't appreciate your warning. I'm still going. Why? What are you doing? Walking. But why do you have to walk that way? Cove let out a deep sigh. You got the feeling that he was starting to get mad at you. I told you, I'm leaving. I'm gonna be gone for a while. I still want to go with you. I don't know where you're going or why you're doing it alone, but I don't want you to go by yourself, so let's fucking go, I guess. You can't. Why not? Cove came to a sudden stop. You almost kept walking ahead of him because you weren't expecting it. My dad doesn't know. If you come, you'll get in trouble when he finds out. You felt a knot start to grow in your stomach. You're not supposed to be leaving? His expression was grave. He shook his head. Dad isn't home right now. I left him a letter so he won't get confused when he gets back. Time the fuck out. He left his 8-year-old home alone? Okay, Mr. Holden, I know you're doing your best as like a single dad and everything, but you don't leave an 8-year-old by himself, especially when he's all bitter about being here anyways. Oh no, why wasn't he dropped off like over at our house? Like he shouldn't have been left. I have questions. For 8-year-olds to be alone, I wasn't. Let's see, how old was I? It feels weird, especially with Cove being the little oddball that he is. You can't tell what him and his wavy eyebrows are gonna do. I'm just saying, given the circumstances of newly moving to the area, Cove is still settling in. It's not the best idea is my point. That's my point. The situation, like these specific circumstances is what makes it a bad idea. I love his little wavy eyebrows. I wasn't saying it as a bad thing. I adore his wavy eyebrows. Look at them. They're cute as fuck. Dad isn't home right now. I left him a letter so he won't get confused when he gets back. But you can't tell anybody about this, okay? You can pretend you never saw me. No, I really can't, though. I don't want to snitch on a dude, but I also can't keep this to myself. Fuck it, I guess I still want to go. I don't care if I get in trouble. Yeah, buddy, we friends, we in it together. I still want to go. If we're doing this together. It's like the library thing. Buddy system. He can't be left all the fuck alone out here. Like, he doesn't even really the area he's in. Don't do it all by yourself. Cove's hard expression wavered. You could tell that he hadn't expected you to say that. Yeah, the colors mean different things. The green means like uncertain, the blue is typically direct, and the yellow is typically emotional. I say typically because apparently it doesn't always follow that color pattern. Really? You don't think it's a bad idea or something? I don't know, but you're doing it anyway. I should too. Yeah, I don't think 8-year-old me would really think through how bad of an idea this is. I think it would just be, hey, you're my friend. If you're doing it, I'm doing it. let's fucking go. His lips curved into a smile. Okay, you can come. You grinned, pleased that he gave in so easily. You thought it might take longer since he was so set on going alone. You turned a bit in the middle of the sidewalk, and so did Cove when he saw. He pointed over your shoulder with a thumb. Let's go to my house first. I can get my backpack. We can't. Sorry. If we're gonna be away, I better take some stuff. It's not that. I don't want our parents to catch us. Your moms could think it's weird we have bags. They might ask. We don't have a lot of time anyway. He motioned to his backpack, patting it with his hand. Its front bulged out slightly. Don't worry, I packed snacks. It'll be all right. He wished you could bring your backpack along just to be safe, but his explanation made sense. All right, we can leave. Cove smiled. He seemed to be in much better spirits than when you first ran into him. You were glad. He wasn't always this upbeat. That was fine, though. Otherwise, he wouldn't be Cove, but you liked seeing him smile. That shit is so fucking cute. Stop. I love them. I love them so much. I can't fucking handle it. Ugh, the cuteness overload. My brain is smoking. Ah. Cove took the first step and you mirrored him. As one, both of you ran up the street. You were off into unknown territory. You ran through the first few neighborhoods like that, your feet pounding on concrete. When one of you got tired, you'd take a break for a minute. The moment there was a sound, you'd be off again, in case someone you knew might realize what you were up to. Because of how cautious you were, the two of you didn't run into anyone, not even other kids enjoying their summer. I know, and I mean, I love his smile too. It's so sweet. Not my little character even just thinking, like, it's okay he's not this upbeat all the time, because if he was, he wouldn't be him. It was like you had suddenly become criminals, always worried if someone was on your tail. As tense as it was, you were still glad you got the opportunity to take a proper break. Cove waited for you to stop once you got out of the residential district. The houses disappeared, broad storefronts taking their place. You were all the way in the business part of town. This was the first time you had come here on foot. Before, one of your moms always drove you to this place in their car. Cove leaned up against a nearby tree and wiped sweat off his forehead. You braced your hands on your knees, breathing hard. You looked over at the road ahead. We're so far. A strange expression flickered across Cove's face at your words before he nodded. He spoke again, still huffing. My moms bring me and Lizzie here for shopping. Yeah, I've never been here before, not without Dad. He looked pleased by that. We're doing good. It's not even nighttime. Cove, hey buddy, you were still unsure. You thought it was right to have gone with Cove, but being so far from your neighborhood made you feel even more weird about what was happening. Clearly, Cove wanted to keep going. For how long, though? He couldn't want to keep walking forever. Cove slid his backpack off and unzipped it. You watched curiously as he stuffed a hand in and searched for something. To your delight, he pulled out 2 juice boxes and offered one to you. Here. Thank you. I was getting thirsty. Not him taking care of us with the little juice boxes in his backpack. That's so sweet. The two of you took a moment to unwrap the straws and poked them into the special circled part of the box. The juice was warm, but still good. You sighed contently after your first sip. Your throat was beginning to ache from how dry it had gotten. It really had been a while since this all started. As you took another sip of your juice, your gaze drifted to Cove's bag. He hadn't closed it yet. What else is in there? There's still a few juice boxes left. He peered inside and began to list off the items as he spotted them. I got some snacks from the kitchen too. Chips, muffins, bananas, candy. That was already a lot, but he kept excavating more. I also took a couple clothes, a flashlight, a first aid kit for my dad's bathroom, and a blanket. Jesus, Cove is out here being like a little... I feel like if he was in the environment, he'd be like a little Boy Scout, honestly. I could so see Cove being a Boy Scout. I can't. Oh, and some money my dad gave me a while ago that I haven't spent yet. Your mouth made a small O halfway through his lengthy list. You brought a lot of stuff. I wouldn't have thought to grab a flashlight or a first aid kit. I told you I was going away. You didn't know what to say to that. The little smile Cove had been wearing earlier was gone by now, like it'd never been there in the first place. You watched as he zipped up his backpack and slipped it on. He started walking without a single glance over at you, though he did still take small, unhappy sips of his juice. For some time, the two of you went forward in complete silence. The more ground you covered, the more serious Cove seemed to become. He hadn't looked at you or said anything in a while. He'd just taken your empty juice box from you and stowed it away in his bag. That was it. You knew there had to be more to all this. The sun dislodged itself from its place in the sky, dipping lower and lower. The street lamps came on. It was as if they were anticipating nightfall. Hey, Cove, it's getting late. Maybe we should turn around and go back? Yeah, you tried to convince him to go back. Hey, Cove. Cove finally turned to look at you. You gave him your best attempt at a warm smile. It's gonna be dark soon. We should head back. To your dismay, he scowled and shook his head immediately. I'm not going back. I can't. But what about your dad? He'll be fine. I left him a letter. A letter doesn't make up for his whole child being gone, Cove. No matter what you wrote in that letter, he's still gonna be sad about missing his boy. He's gonna be worried about you. What are you doing? If you want to leave, you can. I'm gonna keep going. There was no changing his mind, you realized. He was doing this with or without you. I'm not gonna leave him this far. I'm not gonna abandon him now. If he's not convinced to turn back, then I guess yeah, you gave in and kept walking with him. Fine. Neither of us have ever been out here on foot. You can't be left dealing with this alone. It's fine. He wanted to go home, but not without Cove. Leaving him all alone would be much worse. I agree. Okay, I'm coming with you. His features softened the slightest bit at your response. You got the feeling he was relieved by your decision to stay. The two of you continued to trudge past the storefronts. Silence fell over you again. You had no idea how to break it, or if you even wanted to. People had said this was a really tiny town, but to you it felt absolutely gigantic. Eventually, the business part of town ended too. There was no sidewalk anymore, only a long expanse of road. You walked on the grass instead. Okay, Bean, I'll see you in a bit. Not even that was enough to stop him. Onward was the only option. Your journey stubbornly continued. The hunch you had about Cove's possible destination soon became a certainty. There was only one way out of town after all. Not us being out at the goddamn sign. Yeah, Joe, they decided movie was more important than sleep. but they are supposed to be asleep right now. You're not wrong. Your feet hurt, you were tired, the two of you didn't have any parents with you, but somehow you had reached the very edge of Sunset Bird. That's what the sign told you. You had lived in Sunset Bird forever, and it was a very rare occasion that you'd seen this sign. Most everything in your life happened inside the city limits. The endless road ahead seemed scary in a way. It paralyzed you. You glanced at Cove. You had made it here just before nightfall, but now what? Outside of town, there was nothing. How would he get where he wanted to go? Cove, however, didn't falter. He kept walking. As he neared the sign, he finally stopped. That was a relief. He took off his backpack and sat down, crossing his legs beneath him. You lowered yourself beside the boy as he zipped his bag open and rummaged through it again. What snack do you want? You were almost taken aback by his voice. It had been a while since you last heard it. Pursing your lips, you recalled the snacks that you listed off earlier. I want... Oh, a muffin would hit different right now. Yeah, I want a muffin, thank you. He pulled out 2 muffins. After passing you your food, he took a big bite out of the top of his muffin. You peered over at your friend. He stared at the path still ahead with a solemn expression. You turned away. The sun had set some time after both of you finished eating. Now it was dark, apart from the faint moonlight. You watched as Cove grabbed the flashlight from his bag. What are we gonna do? Sleep out here? I guess. He was speaking defensively again. Cove flicked the flashlight on. A beam of light cut through the darkness, weakly illuminating the area you sat in. You pulled your knees up to your chest, wrapping your arms around them. You weren't cold. Summer nights were still sort of warm. You just felt like it. Is it okay if I ask something? Cove's focus didn't waver from the road, but he nodded. Why do you want to leave Sunset Bird so bad? At first, Cove was quiet. You started to think he wouldn't say anything. Then he spoke. My mom called today to check up on me and stuff. Oh, he heard from his mama. She asked what Sunset Bird was like and how I was doing. It was okay. But when I asked if she'll come here, Mom said she couldn't. I can't go back either, not right now. She asked to move to somewhere else first. Cove glared at the ground. His voice cracked as he continued. Why can't I even see her anymore? He used his uncast arm to rub both of his eyes. I'm gonna go myself. I don't need anyone to take me. How are you gonna get to your mom's place? He just wanted to see his mom. Maybe you would have had the idea to run away too if you were Cove, but that doesn't mean it'll work. I'll walk there. I brought supplies. Isn't it really far? Cove was silent for a moment. You'd poked a hole in his perfect plan. Then he shook his head like he was trying to clear it. When he spoke some more, it was mostly to himself. If I don't go see Mom, then she's... Fresh tears glistened in Cove's red-rimmed eyes. He stubbornly tried to blink them away, but they slipped down his cheeks. You frowned at the sight. No matter what, you hated seeing him cry. What'll happen? Mom doesn't call that much, and I haven't seen her in so long. Cove hiccuped, wiping his face with the back of his arm. His glasses got shoved up awkwardly as a result. If I don't go, she'll be gone. She'll forget about me. She wouldn't do that. How do you know? She's your mom. She loves you. Your mom's always said that, so it must be true for Cove's mom too. Cove sniffled. He seemed conflicted. I'm not sure if that's right. You were at a standstill. Everything will be okay if we just go home. I know, poor sweet baby Angel just wants his mama. Like, I can't even blame him. Dude misses his mom, that's all. Yeah, everything will be okay if we just go home. Cove's brows furrowed, a scowl appearing on his lips. Nothing's gonna be okay. He turned away from you. You stared at his back. You couldn't just stop. Please, Cove. After a few minutes of sullen silence, Cove twisted back around. He wouldn't look you in the eye. Okay, let's go. I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want something bad to happen. He was doing this for you? That gave you a warm feeling inside, even if you wished he didn't want to leave in the first place. And that was that. Together, you walked away from the exit sign. Your feet hurt a lot by this point, and you were so tired, but you'd convinced him. You were bringing Cove home, and that's what mattered. On the long walk back, it was only thanks to the occasional street lamp and faint moonlight that you could see in the dark night. You were content to stick close together. Sometimes your drowsy walking caused one of you to almost bump into the other. The back of your hand brushed his. Absolutely hold on to his hand. I totally, yes, you've held on to Cove's hand. You reached out for his hand. It slipped into yours easily. His palm was warm. Cove glanced at you, looking surprised. Then he smiled. His fingers curled around the back of your hand. The two of you continued down the street, hand in hand. They're so cute. I love them. They're such babies. You weren't sure how much time passed. All you knew was that one moment you were fighting the drooping of your eyelids while shuffling near Cove on the sidewalk, and the next you were snapped back to attention by the blaring beep of a horn. Cove froze. You whipped around to see a car approaching you. It was difficult to make out who it was. The headlights were so blinding. Instead of continuing down the road, the car slowed near where you sat. The window rolled down, revealing the face behind the wheel. It was very familiar. Mom! She shouted back, and not just because there was some distance between you and her. Where have you kids been? I've been looking everywhere for you. I was trying to help Cove. She stopped looking at you, instead staring hard straight ahead. Both her hands were gripping the wheel. In turn, Cove gripped your hand tighter. This was hard to face. Guilt ate you up from the inside. Get in. Let's get you two home. That, at least, made her showing up worth it. Your feet were aching like crazy from all the walking you'd done today. You yanked open the side door, slipping inside the back seat, then clambered over so Cove had enough room to climb in too. He followed in wordlessly, tucking his backpack near his feet. Your mom looked at you and Cove from the rearview mirror. The two of you had us extremely worried. That wasn't a good thing to do, not at all. Shamefaced, you both nodded as one. Sorry, Mrs. Thrasher. Sorry, Mom. She softened immediately, not enough to actually let it go, though. You'll have to apologize to everyone else, too. With that, Mom started the car up again and you were off. For the rest of the car ride, no one said anything. You thought all of you were pretty tired. In fact, you must have dozed off at some point because you woke up to the sound of the engine stopping. When you opened your eyes, you realized Cove was looking over at you. He was tense. We're back. You yawned and got out of the car. Cove came out after, putting his backpack on again. Mom locked the car door and motioned you two towards the house. She opened the front door and let you go in first. Mommy appeared quickly. She must have been waiting nearby. There was a phone in her hand. It worried you, thinking about who she might have been talking to. The tight line of her shoulders relaxed when she saw you and Cove. Oh, thank goodness, you found both of them. Yes, I did. They were walking down the main street together. What were you two doing there this time of night? Do you have any idea how far that is? How unsafe? You peeked at Cove. He still looked exhausted. His eyes were puffy and there were dried tear tracks stuck to his cheeks. I had to see my mom. Blake didn't want me to go alone. Your own moms shared a look. You weren't sure what it meant, but they always did that. You wondered if they could read each other's minds. Since they were communicating telepathically, you stole a glance around the house. Lizzie wasn't anywhere in sight. Where was she? She must have finished whatever she was doing that morning ages ago. Where is Lizzie? Your sister's in her room fast asleep, the same way you should have been. She went out earlier to look for the two of you when she accidentally found out you were both missing. She tried to pretend otherwise, but you made her sick with worry. She said she checked all the hiding places she could think of, but couldn't find either of you. You and Cove exchanged remorseful glances at that. Mommy noticed the discomfort. You two must be sleepy. You can sit down wherever you like. Mommy smiled warmly and motioned to the living room. Cove looked up at her, then lumbered over. You followed close behind. The living room wasn't far or separated by a wall, so you heard your moms talking softly. He wanted to go see his mother. Poor thing. That explains it at least. Still, I'm not sure it excuses it. That it was so dangerous to go off into town like that. He's having a hard time right now. You can't expect a child to handle it maturely. True, it can't be helped. But that's enough of that. We should tell Cliff and the others that he's here before the panic gets out of hand. There could be riots. I'll call, then go to the front and tell everyone still out there. You keep an eye on the kids. Make sure they don't take any more trips today. Got it, hon. Cove just sat there on the couch, setting his backpack down beside him. He stared at his hands. This is so weird. What is? Everyone was looking for me. They all know I tried to leave. I kinda want to run away and not come back this time, so I don't have to see them again. Please never run away again. Cove looked guilty for even suggesting that, despite it not being serious. I won't, not for real. Before you could say anything else, the front door opened. Your mom was back with Mr. Holden close behind her. He made a beeline for the couch, his gaze trained on his son. Cove, God, are you all right? Strands of his hair had fallen out of his ponytail. His eyes were darkened like he'd been crying too. Cove stared up at his dad, his own eyes wide behind the frames of his glasses. He really hadn't expected it to be such a big deal. I'm okay. Good, that's good. I'm so glad to hear that. He clasped a hand on his son's shoulder, attempting a smile, but the corners of his lips twitched and spasmed as if they wanted to wilt into a frown instead. Cove seemed to have that effect on him. Mr. Holden turned to you, still smiling weakly. I'm so happy you're all right too, Blake. Then he looked at your moms. Thanks for your help, as always. He laughed pitifully. And I'm very sorry for ruining your afternoon with this. I can't apologize enough. It was no trouble, Cliff, really. It couldn't be helped in a way. Something was bound to happen sometime. Besides, he wasn't the only one who decided it was a good idea to disappear today. Exactly. We're just happy the kids are safe and sound. Not for the first time that day, you recalled your original meeting with Cove. He had run away then, too, only not as far as he had today. Cove must have had a similar thought because he mumbled an apology. Sorry, Dad, I won't leave anymore, promise. Some life seemed to return to Mr. Holden thanks to his promise. This time around, his smile was more genuine. That's a relief to hear. Next time you feel like running off, come to me first, okay? We can talk about it. I'm here for you. Cove nodded. His dad reached out and mussed his hair playfully. Although he made a face, Cove didn't try to dodge the hand as he usually did. Let's go home, bud. I bet you're as tired as I am. Mr. Holden took over carrying Cove's backpack, still clasping a free hand on his son's shoulder when he stood up from the couch. The five of you walked over to the front door so you could see them off. Mr. Holden thanked your moms profusely at least 3 more times before he walked out the door. Cove was made to follow. But he stopped and turned to you before stepping through the threshold. Thanks, Blake. You're welcome, Cove. A tiny smile flitted across his lips, there and then gone. Absolutely, you hugged him. Can't resist a chance to hug Cove. Be so for real. Give him all the lovin'. Before he was gone, you reached over to give him a hug goodbye after a hard day. He held you back more tightly than you could have anticipated, and you almost squeaked out a noise. I'm glad you're here. His embrace was tight but brief. He let go as soon as he said what he wanted to. And with that, Cove left. Mommy closed the door behind them. You were practically dead on your feet at that point. Your fatigue must have been obvious because your moms sent you right to bed with no more discussion on what happened that day. Once your head hit the pillow, your eyes slipped closed on their own. Your eyelids were so heavy you couldn't open them again until the next morning. You woke up much more at ease than you had felt when you were last conscious. It was almost like it was a dream. But it definitely wasn't. Your mom's faces when you saw them assured that. After breakfast, you were sat down and your family went over yesterday's events in full. They were none too pleased that you joined Cove despite knowing that he wanted to leave. As punishment, your moms took away your TV privileges for the next few days. Lizzie was annoyed that she couldn't watch her shows with you around, but she adjusted. Whenever you expressed disappointment, your moms reminded you that they weren't punishing you for no reason. It was dangerous to go out on your own so late and without telling anyone. You could have gotten hurt or worse. As upset as you were, you understood. Mr. Holden talked to Cove about what happened too. You didn't know what was said exactly, but Mr. Holden forgave Cove immediately. He didn't do anything to punish Cove for running away. He blamed no one but himself for Cove's desire to leave home. You caught your moms discussing it once in hushed tones, frowning at each other. It was pretty serious. There was a word used you hadn't heard before, self-flagellation. Jesus Christ. But there wasn't anything they could do to change Mr. Holden's mind. Your neighbors stopped you and Cove often for the next week or so to express their concerns and disapproval of the event. Still, as they always did, days continued to pass. So did talk about Cove running away. Things eventually returned to normal, as they do. Summer kept going, and you kept having experiences you shared with Cove. Okay, this is where we're going to call it, so that means when we play tomorrow, we will be wrapping up step 1 officially. I'm pretty fucking hyped. As before, I am going to give us a quick little save, and then we'll be good to come back and do more. But yeah, that's all I have for right now. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. And as always, take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves. It's hard being a person. You're doing the best you can. I am proud of you. And don't forget to live a life that pisses off a bigot. Bye, y'all.